Hi, if you're watching this video, then you or someone you know are probably about to adopt a cat. But you might be asking, okay, so how do I do that? Well, here are 5 things to know before adopting a cat from a shelter. Number 1, research the shelter. When looking for an animal shelter, you want to find one that has good reviews. Don't just find one that's closest to you. Make sure that has good high ratings and people actually approve of it as well too. Just because it's an animal shelter doesn't mean that the environment is any good, the staff is any good, the treatment of the animal is any good. You want to find one that is going to treat the animals with a lot of love and a lot of respect. Also, make sure it's a non-kill shelter. What's a non-kill shelter? Well, it's any shelter that doesn't put down an animal just because it doesn't get adopted. Number 2, visit the animal shelter. Visit as many shelters as you can. Take a weekend, take a break from work, and just visit as many shelters around the neighborhood. Number 3, communicate with the shelter. When you go to the shelter, you want to make sure you have a lot of questions available to them. There are a lot of different cats out there with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different traits, and so you want to make sure the cat you want matches exactly what you desire. For instance, there are a lot of different cat breeds out there. Maine Coons, American Shorthairs, British Shorthairs, list goes on and on. There are so many out there. And each of them have their own personality. For instance, Maine Coons are known as gentle giants. Even though they are intimidating, they are really, really affectionate and really chill. Hair type. There are, again, just like breeds, there are a lot of different hair types that come with those breeds. Short hair, medium hair, long hair, and if you want a Sphynx, then probably no hair. It's actually very, very fine. So it's still hair, but it's very short. But depending on the hair length, you have dander, you have shedding, you have just a lot of dirt, so you're constantly cleaning the cat more often, you have to pick up hair more often. So there's that, and so it really just comes down to your preference as well, to how much hair can you handle. Theo is a medium hair cat, so he does get litter stuck to his body. He does shed sometimes, so we have to clean up after him, wipe his body from time to time. I've had American Shorthair before, and he still shed. So it really, all cats shed, but it depends on how much hair you actually want to clean up later on. Gender. Do you want a male cat? Do you want a female cat? Each, just like humans, male and females have different brains, and they work differently. And so you have different personality traits. Male cats tend to be a lot more, I think, open to sharing their space, a lot more affectionate. Female cats tend to be a lot more territorial and more possessive of humans and foods and toys and whatnot. But both are really quite loving though. I've had male cats, I've had female stray cats that come into my yard before, and we've taken care of them, and they've been really loving and affectionate too. So again, it comes down to the type of cat as well. The breed really matters a lot, aside from the gender. Age. Do you want a young cat or do you want an old cat? Young cats are a lot more vibrant. They're running around, jumping around, causing a little bit more ruckus, depending on, because they're very, they're young and they have more energy. If you want older cats, they tend to be a lot more reserved. They'll sit by your side, they'll sleep a lot, they won't climb or jump as much. So really you want a cat that fits your lifestyle. Are you active? So if you're active, you may want an active cat. If you're more reserved, then you may want a more reserved cat. Disabled cats. Now, if you're really up to the challenge, a lot of shelters take care of cats with disabilities, such as tripod cats, or a cat with 3 legs, deaf cats, blind cats, cats with autoimmune disease, such as FIV, or feline immunodeficiency virus. That was a mouthful. And so it's really up to you, again, if you want to take care of a cat with a disability. It will cost a lot more time, a lot more energy, and a lot more money as well. You're going to pay for a lot of more vet visits and a lot more medication for that cat. But again, if you are up for the challenge, I really recommend that. I think you feel a lot better taking care of a cat who really, I think a lot of people kind of push those cats aside because they want a cat that's very healthy. So if you take in those cats, all power to you. Good job. Number 4, check the medical records. When you go to your shelter, you want to make sure you see the medical records of your cats. When we adopted Theo, we didn't really know much about him except for the fact that he was shy, but he was affectionate. It wasn't until we adopted Theo that we found out that he was not only a feral cat, but he was also found trembling and breathing quite heavily when he was found, which meant that he was probably living in fear. And so if the shelter doesn't immediately show you the records, just ask them. It's not a big deal. If they don't show you, or if they don't want to show you, that's when you need to start asking questions and start being a little bit more, I think, hesitant from adopting a cat from that place. By knowing Theo's medical history, it allowed Irene and I to really create a comfortable space for Theo. We were able to understand him more and see things from his perspective. And so, when it came to like how we should treat him, a lot more care goes into treating Theo because he has that bit of trauma. So we have to be kind of patient. We have to be kind of, be quiet around him a little bit often. He doesn't like loud noises or sudden movements. So it's really, we have to adjust our lifestyle to his. And number 5, be committed. When you go into your shelter, you're not only looking at cats, but the shelter is also looking at you as well too. They're observing you, how you interact with the cats. If a shelter sees that you are a bit hesitant or not confident, then the shelter may not want you to adopt a cat. They may feel a bit hesitant on that, and so that's something to always look out for. Go in with confidence. Let them know that you really want to adopt a cat, and I think that'll go a long way. When I adopted Theo, I had to fill out a little paperwork. One question was actually, when would be an acceptable time to not keep a pet anymore? And the answer isn't really never. There are some times where we do have to give up a pet, and that's really sad, but it's true, it's the reality of it all. Sometimes it's financial reasons, sometimes it's health issues, sometimes it's a living situation. And one thing, especially for me, and a lot of pet owners get this too, we get pet regrets. So when we get a pet, we have a lot of expectations we have for pets. We want them to be or act in a certain way, and most of the time, they don't act that way, or they aren't that particular way, and that leads us to disappointments. And so sometimes like, oh, why did I get this cat or dog in the first place, if they're not acting the way I wanted it to? Well, it took Theo about 2 months or so for him to actually kind of ease into us and kind of become the cat that I wanted and everything. So I had a bit of pet regrets, and I was hesitant, like, oh, what do I get him for? I just like give him back. And a lot of people give the pets back to the shelters, and shelters don't want that. So again, it's about commitments. Show the shelter you really want to adopt this pet. So there you go. I hope this answers some of your questions. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.